I have Zion Gimel.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, over here. There we go. Okay. If one pronounces a vow on his wife that she should not adorn herself with a certain item, he must divorce her and give her her Kesubos. Reb Yossi says, in the case of poor women, if he did not give a limit in the case of rich women, 30 days. If one pronounces a vow on his wife that she should not go to her father's house when he is with her in the city, it's 1 month. He may keep her 2 months. He must divorce her and give her the ketubah. When he is in another city, one festival, he may keep her. 3 festivals, he must divorce her and give her the ketubah. If one pronounces a vow on his wife that she should not go to a house of mourning or to a house of feasting, he must divorce her and give her the ketubah, because he locks the door before her. But if he claims that it was due to another cause, he may stay.
Okay, so pause for a second. So what we're saying is that if he effectively prevents her from going to any weddings or funerals, then he's or shiva houses for that matter, then he's effectively cutting her off from society. That's like, being with people during the simcha and during their tsar. That's right. That's absolutely critical. But if his tana is no, not because he's trying to be cruel to her, it's because that in these places, especially like weddings, whatever, people are behaving lewdly or whatever, and he doesn't want it to be that. Then he's got justice. Then he's got a justification for it, and that he's committed. Yeah.
And did we finish that? No. If he said to her, on the condition that you tell so-and-so what you said to me, or what I said to you, or that you fill up and pour out into the garbage, he must divorce her and give her a ketubah. Okay?
This is where the husband is trying to put his wife in an embarrassing situation.
Right.
These are, by the way, it seems the Mepharshim say that this last part of the Mishna is euphemistic for things involving marital intimacy. That if he wants her to tell people, what they've done in private, and or he wants to have coitus interruptus, and that also, and she refuses, that also is grounds for her to demand divorce and her kesubos. Okay. The following women may be divorced and they forfeit their kesubos. Al various al das Moshe v'Yehudis. If a woman violates Jewish law, there's das Moshe. There's 2 different categories. There's das Moshe and das Yehudis. They're 2 different things. So what's das Moshe? This is things that are min Torah. She feeds him food that hasn't had masus taken from it. Or she has relations with him while she's nida. Or she doesn't take challah off the dough that she makes. Or she takes vows and doesn't keep them, because all of these things are things that are in her hands to fulfill, and he doesn't actually know whether or not she's keeping them. So so there's a certain level of trust. He can't police her on these things.
Right.
And if it turns out that she has been violating this trust, that's grounds for divorce and forfeiting the kesubos. What's this category of stuff? She goes out with her hair uncovered. So the Mepharshim say, well, hang on a second. I think the Gemara asks, am I right? The Gemara asks the question, but a woman has to wear that. This is din d'oraisa. Why isn't that under das Moshe? So no, it's where she went out, where it's technically covered, but it's in a way that is not in keeping with the minhag makom. So it's not a din d'oraisa that she's being over, but what she's doing is she's behaving in a way that is unseemly for her in that community.
So if she lives in that community and they wear a tickle or they wear a headscarf or something, that's one thing. But if the other community she lives in, they all wear hats, and that would be the minute that she would have to follow, the community that she lives in.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Okay. The tova b'shuk, if she spins thread in the marketplace, this is basically if she's acting in a way that's she's supposed to be doing these things privately at home, but she's doing things in public that are drawing attention to herself. Medaberes in kol adam, she's easy, too easy to talk to strangers, and so this is, if the husband is unhappy about this, then he is allowed to divorce her without a kesubah. Abba Shaul omer, "Af ham mekaleles yoldav b'fanav." Also, a woman who curses her in-laws in front of him. If she's rude about his parents, that's also grounds according to Abba Shaul. Rabbi Tarfon omer, "Afa kolanis." Also, a woman with a loud voice. Ezahi kolanis. So, what's the definition of a woman with a loud voice? When she talks inside her house and the neighbors can hear her.
I go for that one. Okay.
Yeah, and again, the Gemara explains that this is where she's talking about matters of intimacy in a loud voice so that people outside can hear. Okay. So a man comes to a woman and says, okay, so he says explicitly put a tanai into the kiddushin, then into aleha nadarim, and it turns out that she is subject to nadarim. So the tanai is bata. The tanai is it never came into effect, and therefore there's no kiddushin over here. If he just married her without making any conditions, and it turns out that she's got a whole bunch of nadarim on her that he wasn't aware of, then he can say this. It was a taos. He doesn't want to be married to a woman who takes nadarim, and he is entitled to divorce her without giving a kesubah. So similarly, physical defects. So nadarim is a kind of a spiritual defect, and physical defects. He says, almanath, that you don't have any women. When into a woman, and turns out that she does have women, and the tonight wasn't fulfilled. Cannot stam into a woman. If he just married her stam and then he discovers that she's got women, then he's allowed to divorce her without giving a kesubah. And also, what is a mum? Look in Maseches Bechoros for all the things that make a kohen pasul to serve in the mikdash, and that is what makes her pasul. That's what can be grounds for him. Now, obviously, these are things that he's got to be able to say, well, I didn't know. Like if she's got, say, a unibrow. This is like, I didn't know she had a unibrow. I said, "What? You're blind? You're not blind. You can see that she's got it. So that you can't use that as a claim." So Mishna goes on to explain this. If she developed a mum while she was in her father's house, right? If the mum appears while if he discovers the mum while she's still living in her father's house, then the father has the obligation to prove that the mum developed after the kiddushin, and therefore nistach b'sadehu. We saw that earlier in the Masechta where it's the husband's bad luck. It's his wife who developed a mum. You can't divorce her just because she developed a mum after they were married.
So when it says his misfortune, that means
his misfortune. That's nistach b'sadehu, who is literally his field got flooded. Okay, it's sorry that happened, but it's your field that got flooded. Okay. However, once she has gone into the husband's domain, and now he comes and complains about the woman, then he's got to come with a proof that the woman was there before she got married. This is Rabbi Meir's opinion. What is the case of all of this? The moment Shebaseiser. All of this is talking only about a mum that is concealed. About the woman Shebegaloi, but if it's something that's clear and obvious, then how can you come in with a claim? You can see her walking around in the street, and she's got a mum. If he decided to marry her, then obviously he chose to accept that mum.
Right.
And furthermore, if there's a bathhouse for ladies in the city, then even the ones in the hidden places, he cannot make a claim on. Why? He can send his sister or his mother to the bathhouse at the same time as his color is going, and say, just check that she hasn't got any hidden defects. So they can check for him.
Right. And then she's going to come back and say, how do you know?
Yeah.
And he's going to tell her that that my relative.
Before he marries her, that's the point that he's making. That before he marries her, he must check her out.
Yeah.
Right. So now that it comes to the chuppah, he can't come and complain that she's a Balmum because he knew about it before.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Okay, that's it for today. And Daled Yud.
If he did not write for her, sons that you will have from me, they will inherit the money of your ketubah above what they share with their brothers. He is nevertheless liable, since it is a condition established by the court. If he did not write, daughter that you will have from me shall live in my house and be supported from my property until they are married, he is nevertheless liable, since it is a condition established by the court. And if he did not write, you shall live in my house and be supported from my property all the days of the duration of your widowhood in my house. He is nevertheless liable, since it is a condition established by the court. And in this matter, the people of Yerushalayim used to write, the people of Galil used to write, and the people of Galil used to write like the people of Yerushalayim. And the people of Judea used to write until the heirs wish to give you your ketubah. Therefore, if the heirs so desire, they may give her ketubah and dismiss her. Okay.
Vamos.
Okay.
Good Aleph.
A man may marry the relatives of the women he raped or seduced. If he rapes or seduces her relatives after he married her, he is liable. A man may marry the woman raped or seduced by his father, or the woman raped or seduced by his son. And Rabbi Yehuda permits the woman raped or seduced by his father. If a woman's sons converted with her, they perform neither chalitza nor yibum, even though if the first was not conceived.
Just by the way, for the previous Mishna, you said Rabbi Yehuda permits, and he prohibits. But then this is other than
I said something different.
You said permits, yeah.
Prohibits. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He permits the woman rape. All right. If a woman's sons converted with her, they perform neither chalitza nor yibum, even if the first was not conceived in sanctity, but was born in sanctity, and the second was conceived and born in sanctity. So too in the case of a slave woman whose sons were emancipated with her. So even though these boys, the boys were converted they were converted already. They weren't Garam really. They were. This was
if she converts with her children.
With her children. I was thinking that she didn't have children yet. Okay, all right.
She has children, and it says they converted with her.
Right.
So all these brothers that have come through, they're biologically they're brothers, but halachically they're not.
Even though they were. The second one was conceived though. When the second one was conceived and born in sanctity. So he also is not. You can't perform chalitza or yibum.
Yeah, because if the first one was conceived not in Kush, in other words, she converted pregnant. So right. She converted pregnant and she had one child already. So now these two brothers are technically not brothers. Even though the second brother is 100% Jewish because he was wrong case. She converted pregnant and then she had another child afterwards. So the first child was born in Kedusha, but he was conceived not. So that's still the two brothers are not considered.
The second one was conceived when she was already Jewish.
That's right. So the second brother is 100% Jewish, and that's his halachic mother. But his brother was conceived when the mother was not Jewish, and therefore they don't count for Yibum for each other.
Okay, all right, I got it now. Okay, now I get it. Okay. If that babies of 5 women became confused with one another, and they grew to adulthood, married, and died, 4 perform chalitza with one widow, and 1 may perform yibum with her. He and 3 others perform chalitza with another widow, and 1 may perform yibum with her. Thus, 4 chalitzas and 1 yibum are performed with each widow. Okay. Sukkah. So we have Hey Vav. On the first festival of Sukkot, there were 3 bullocks, 2 rams, and 1 he-goat. There remained 4 yearling sheep for 8 watches. On the first day of 6 of the watches offered up 2 each, and the rest offered up 1 each. On the second day, 5 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the third day, 4 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fourth day, 3 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. The fifth day, 2 offered up 2 each, and the rest 1 each. And on the sixth day, 1 offered up 2, and the rest 1 each. On the seventh day, all were equal. The eighth day, they reverted to casting lots as the other festivals. And the Gekumen said, whoever offered up bullocks today should not offer them tomorrow, but they to take turns in rotation. During 3 periods of the year, all 24 watches were equal in the prescribed offerings of the festival and the division of the panim bread. On Shavuos, they would say to him, here is a matzah for you, here is a chametz for you. The watch whose time of service was fixed, Oni, it offers the daily burnt offerings, vow offerings, free will offerings, the remaining public offerings, and this watch offers everything. If a festival fell near Shabbos, either before or after it, the watches shared equally in the division of the panim bread. If one day intervened between them, the watch whose time was fixed took 10 loaves, and the one that stayed behind took 2. But during the rest of the year, the incoming watch took 6, and the outgoing watch took 6. Rabbi Yehuda says the incoming watch took 7, and the outgoing watch took 5. The incoming watch divided the bread in the north, and the outgoing watch in the south. And the watch of Bilga always divided the bread in the south. Its ring was permanently affixed, and its window was sealed.
And tomorrow is Beitza.
I'm sorry, tomorrow is
Beitza.
Beitza again. Wow.
Yep, again.
Wow. Now, Michael Bruce will be very happy. We're almost finished with that one. I said to him, why don't we make a SIEM? We can do it on Zoom, and get a couple of friends, and all that, do it. He says, that's a good idea. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it. So, right. If one pickled an unclean fish for clean fish, if an earthen vessel holding 2 saws of the clean fish weighs 10 zuz in Judean measure, which is 5 sellers in Galilean measure, its brine is forbidden. Rabbi Yehuda says a quarter of 2 saws, but Rabbi Yossi says 1/16 of it. Okay. If unclean locusts were pickled with clean locusts, their brine is not rendered unclean. The Red Tzaddik testified that the brine of unclean locusts is clean. And all that are pickled together are permitted except with leeks of chulin with leeks of truma. Vegetables of chulin with leeks of truma are forbidden, but leeks of chulin with vegetables of truma are permitted. Okay, and we have all this. Yes, good base gimel. A board is placed on top of an old oven and protrudes a handbreadth in 2 directions, but not on the other sides. If there is tuma on this side, utensils are on the other side remain tahor, and Rabbi Yossi declares them tameh. A batak does not spread tuma, and if there is a ledge, Rabbi Eliezer says it does not spread tuma. Rabbi Yeshua says we view the batak as if it does not exist, and the ledge above it spreads tuma.
Just give me a second. I want to just understand the first case. It's put into the old oven. It's but not on the slides. Oh, okay. Right. Got the case. Fine.
There's a shield of the leg of a crib that protrudes through the ceiling of the lower story of a house. If the hole is as big as a handbreadth, everything becomes tameh. And if not, we count the way we usually count for tuma from a corpse. The joists of the lower and upper stories of a house have no plaster attached to them and are perfectly aligned with one above the other. If there is tuma underneath one of the joists, whatever is beneath it becomes tameh. If there is tuma between the lower and the upper, whatever is between them become tameh. If there is tuma above the upper joist, whatever is directly above it until the sky becomes tameh. And if the upper joist corresponds to the space between the lower ones, and there is tuma underneath one of the joists, whatever is beneath any of them becomes tameh. And if the tuma is above them, whatever is directly above it until the sky becomes tameh.
So that was the principle of good Athens, that even though they're staggered, we look at them as if they're together, and then it's a full or hell. Okay.
Okay, Avodah Zorah. Okay, Beis Dalet. If there were skin bottles of idolaters or their jars and the wine of a Jew is kept in them, it is prohibited. It is if and its prohibition is a prohibition against all benefit. These are the words of Ramea, but the comments say it's their prohibition is not a prohibition against all benefit. Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yishmael posed a question to Rabbi Yeshua while they were traveling. I almost said while they were driving. While they were traveling, he said to him, why did they permit the cheeses of the idolaters? He answered them, because they curdle it with the remnant of an unslaughtered carcass. He said to them, is not the remnant of a burnt offering more strictly forbidden than the remnant of an unslaughtered carcass? Yet he said, a Kohen who is not fastidious may gulp it down.
Just a second.
I skipped the page.
Yes.
I skipped the page, yeah. A Kohen who is not fastidious may gulp it raw. And though they did not agree with him, nevertheless, even they said, one may not benefit, but one does not commit me'ilah. He then answered them, because to curdle it with the remnant of calf sacrificed to idols. He said to them, if so, why did they not prohibit it for all benefit? He then diverted him to another matter. He said to him, Israel, my brother, how do you read the verse, Kitofim dodecha miyayin, or Kitova dodeka. He replied, Kitova dodech. Across the page. Sorry, stuck together. Here we go. He said to him, it is not so. As fellow verse demonstrates regarding it, Bareach Shemanecha Tovim. I missed that.
Well, basically, he's changing the subject. And really, the truth is that they were just making a gezerah.
Right.
They were simply making gezerah. It wasn't a svara. It was just that they didn't want people to have non-Jewish cheeses. So even though technically it might be kosher, they said we just don't want it. So, and he didn't want to get into an argument about it. So therefore, because if you start getting into an argument about it, then the gezerah is difficult to enforce. So it just kind of changed the subject.
Okay.
There was actually Rav Haber shared in Shul a verified letter from Rav Chaim Brisker to Rav, I think it was Rav Chaim Ozer Grzinski. He was asking him for a psak on a certain halacha, and he wrote to him, "Please don't tell me the svara, just tell me your psak." And what's the reason? Because he said like any true brisker, he's going to hear the svara, and then he's going to start shagging it up, because that's what you do in brisk. You hear a svara and you start shagging it up. He says, this is not a time that I want to get into lamdas. I just want to hear the halacha, and that's it. He had enough respect for Rav Chaim Ozer to just say, I'll accept what you're going to say, but he knew of himself that if he heard the svara, he was going to start arguing.
Okay, the items of idolaters are prohibited, but their prohibition is not a prohibition against all benefit. Milk that a Gentile milk without a Jew watching him, and a Jew does not see him, and their bread and oil. The Rebbe and his court permitted the oil and cooked foods and preserves into which they are accustomed to put wine and vinegar and minced tares, and brine which does not have kilbus fish floating in it, and the kilak and a grain of kiltis and sarkontis salt. They are prohibited, but the prohibitions is not a prohibition against all benefit. Okay.
We're done.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ashokak. Enjoy your family.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything special? Anything special you're doing with them, or just?